Hello, everybody. For grammar today, we're going to talk about a couple of things. As you can see on my screen here, we're going to go over our exercise 3 from the other day. Specifically, we're going to go through the answers on that to see how well you did on this singular and plural possessive. And then we're also going to do exercises 4 and 5 from the book just for some more singular and plural practice. So we're going to talk about both, and all this will be posted along with the video on the announcement on Google Classroom. So let's go ahead and start with our review of exercise 3 here. What we can do, I'm going to take this one kind of slow because it has answers on it clearly, but we want to walk through the answers and really see how we got there. Okay, so this is exercise 3 from the other day. And if you notice, what I did here is I just put all of the starting words from the paper in the first column. So we have player, runner, doctor, newspaper, crowd, wilderness, Samantha, Alabama, winter, and wolf. Now, as you guys can see, I didn't put whether or not it's singular or possessive or anything like that from the paper because that's what we're going to do in the second column. And then we're going to talk about the answers in the third in this black column. Okay, so to start again, I'm starting at the top here real quick, just as a reminder that singular and plural are one thing, right? Singular means it's one item, whereas plural means it's multiple. When we're talking about possessive, we're talking about ownership. Okay, so I even put up here in this purple box a reminder that's going to walk us through this, but this is going to happen a lot, at least for the foreseeable future. Anytime you see the word singular, that just means there's one of them, like locker. If it's plural, it's just adding an S to the end. Now, that's not the same for every word there is, but basically you're taking one thing and making it multiple. When you're showing possession, that means you're showing ownership, okay? Like Tim's backpack, okay? So there's ownership there. So that's the difference between just regular being plural and things like singular and plural possessive, okay? So up here at the top, as the reminder, I put apostrophe S is always going to mean one owner of whatever that thing is. If you get to an S apostrophe, that's multiple owners. Okay, so let's start walking through this. So for number one, player is going to stay the same for now because what we're going to do is we're going to split the jobs. So this one said singular possessive. So we know to make it singular, we keep it the exact same. So now I took player and made it player because it stays the same. Now let's go through the rest of these. Runner became runners. Doctor became doctors. Newspaper became newspapers. Crowd stayed the same. Wilderness stayed the same. Samantha stayed the same. Alabama stayed the same. Winter turned to winners. And wolf actually turns to wolves. This is a good example to look at because not every word, when it's possessive or as it's plural, is going to be the same spelling. Okay, so already by looking through this list, you can tell which ones are going to be singular and plural possessive for the most part. Okay, now to get our final answer on these, let's look at number one. So it's singular possessive. So as you can tell, we had player all the way across, and then this is one owner. So this is like the player's glove or the player's helmet, whatever you want to call it. You have apostrophe S because that shows one owner. Okay. Number two is runners with an S apostrophe. So that's showing that there's multiple runners involved and it's multiple owners of whatever it is. Okay. So a runner's tournament or something to that effect. If you're showing possession of it, ownership, your runners, there's more than one of them and they're all owning it. So there's your S apostrophe. Number three is the same deal. There's multiple doctors, multiple ownership. So it's S apostrophe. Number three is the same thing, multiple newspapers, multiple ownership, S apostrophe. Five is tricky, but it's actually apostrophe S. Okay, we're going to talk about these later in the week, but there's words known as collective nouns. They are words that really work as one thing, but they represent multiple people. So the word crowd, the word group, the word team, the word audience, words such as those, they include a lot of different people. Yes, like a class, but there's obviously a lot of people in the group, but represented by one word. So in this case, it'd be like one crowd of people's clapping, like the crowd's clapping was loud. So it's the singular crowd. It's one crowd, but they're the ownership altogether. So that one's kind of tricky, but that's how those work. This is probably the trickiest one on here. Number 9, you probably won't see this very much, but wilderness is singular. It's like I'm walking out in the wilderness. And there wasn't a plural, so there wasn't like wildernesses like ES. And to make this single ownership, singular possessive, you keep the word the exact same. And although it looks weird, you have an apostrophe S. So if I was describing the wilderness and I said the wilderness's beauty was amazing, sentence like that, which is rare, you would have wilderness with 2 S's, apostrophe S. So depending on how well you did on that one, that's a tricky one. Okay, number 7 is probably the easiest version of this because you have a person's name, Samantha. It's Samantha's ownership, again, like Samantha's pencil, and it's apostrophe S. Okay. Alabama, I'll move around over here. Alabama, singular. Okay, so let's say we're talking about the Alabama football team. You'd say like Alabama's quarterback because it's the team, but it's just Alabama apostrophe S, like it's their quarterback. All right, winners is that's apostrophe. And the last one here, 10, wolves was kind of tricky too because you had to take wolf, turn into wolves, and then you had to have plural possessive, which again, you keep this wolves and you bring the apostrophe over, so you have S apostrophe. So this was a spelling change and an S apostrophe. So that one was also a little tricky. Okay, so that's all the answers for exercise 3. I'm assuming you did pretty well on this, but I know with this apostrophe S, S apostrophe business, it's not always easy. But this again right here is always your one-stop shop. Even if you wanted to write this down somewhere, at least for this unit, index card, something. But what it's singular possessive, apostrophe S, shows one owner. And if it's plural possessive, again, make it plural first, but usually that's going to make an S apostrophe showing multiple owners. Okay, so that's the slides as far as exercise 3 goes. We're going to exit out of here for a second, and we're going to talk about the other part of this, which is exercises 4 and 5. Okay. Exercise 4 and 5, which is posted with this announcement, is just more examples of, plural, plural nouns. So taking things from singular to plural. And also, of course, there might be some spelling issues. So for exercise 4, what I want you to do, again, either on filler or in a Google document, anything like that, you look at the sentence, and then from the sentence, you look at the words here, and you just write the one that is the better spelled word, the one that actually is the correct form. So you don't have to write the whole sentence for these. You can just put number 1 and then choose between the 2. So is it stories, stories, benches, benches, spectators, spectators, heroes, heroes, or themselves or themselves? Okay, so look at those. Those are pretty quick. Exercise 5, it just says write the plural form of each singular noun. So some of these you might even have to look up, but all you literally do for 1 through 20 is rewrite the word in its plural form. So radishes, boxes, cherries, you know what they probably are, but you just have to double check that they are spelled correctly. Because again, adding an S does not just necessarily make a plural noun. Okay, sometimes there's some tricky parts to it. Okay, so this is all for today. Like I said, we went over exercise 3 in detail on how you get from singular to plural possessive. And the other part of your assignment that you have to turn in are both these exercises 4 and 5, just a little more practice with plural nouns, just regular plural, no possession for right now. Okay, as always, I hope you all are staying safe out there, getting your work turned in, and we'll talk to you very soon. See ya.